Well, I put together this little list that we've got here of key Labor policies that I see where there might be some friction. The taxing of super funds over $3 million and quite clearly also the taxing of unrealised capital gains. There's obviously tax cuts which have been, the government wants to push through, $1,000 instant tax deductions as well. There's also underwriting the first home buyers with 5% deposits, effectively doing away with the mortgage lending industry, the mortgage insurance industry. So some of these are pretty important, but the big one you'd have to think is still going to be energy policy, isn't it?
Well, it's the fundamental difference in approach between the two parties. Yes, they'll have agreements and disagreements on tax. They'll have agreements and disagreements on other areas of policy. But there is a stark gulf between the parties when it comes to energy policy. And you won't see necessarily an approach from Susan Lee that will be instantaneous in what they are putting forward in terms of their energy policy. I think you saw today a leader that is wanting to be consultative, that is wanting to listen, that is wanting to try and understand why the majority of Middle Australia got up and packed its bags and walked away from the Liberal Party. So I think the approach on their own policies, whether that be energy, whether that be tax, will be taken very slowly because you need to bring the party rooms together and with you at the same time. You don't want to go forward and beyond where they are.
So I heard Susan Lee on that very subject saying she won't make captain's calls as the leader of the Liberal Party. Is it possible to be the leader of a political party without occasionally making a captain's call?
Well, you have to show leadership, but you have to listen to your party room and you have to consult properly. And I think you saw in the last 3 years there was a block on policy formation within the coalition. Whether that be within the opposition leader's office or whether it wasn't encouraged because they wanted to take a small target approach to an election that they thought they were going to win. I think you will see a different approach this time. You will see a policy framework put in place within the party rooms, not just in shadow cabinet, where policy is formulated properly and over the long term. It doesn't need to be done in the next 6 months. We don't need to hear from the coalition in terms of their policy offering moving forward in the next 6 months. But they need to start that process now and get that underway.
Andrew, a lot of people would suggest that the Liberal Party in particular needs to move hard to the right to be able to make a significant point of difference between itself and the Labor Party, to go back to what many people call the traditional Liberal values. I just wonder whether that really is an approach that is going to win back voters that have been lost to the Labor Party and to independents, including the Teals.
Well, I think on economic policy, what you'll see from Susan is a tack towards the centre. But that tack towards the centre is not coming from the right. It's actually coming from the left. The economic policy offerings that the Dutton opposition put forward to the Australian people was perhaps the most left-wing economic policy platform that we've seen since the 1970s. It was extraordinary. It was chasing a populist narrative. And that's come about because of the dislocation between Australians' view of how governments should manage economic policy from the COVID pandemic, where Australians were put on the teat of government resources to get them through, and they were never taken off that. So the policy offering from the Dutton office was to pivot to the left to try and get those people that are still in that zone of forgetting the aspiration, forgetting individual responsibility, and going after people that are relying on compensation.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's really going to be interesting to see exactly where they land with all of this and, of course, what blows the Labor Party might inflict as well. Andrew Carswell, former Chief of Staff to Prime Minister Scott Morrison, thanks for your time today.